Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Blend Vision, and today we have a really special story that I think you're going to love. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for being part of our amazing community. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Now, grab a comfy seat, maybe a snack, and let's dive into today's story time. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning, or at least it should have been. The day began with the relentless hum of my alarm clock, a sound I had come to dread. I had stayed up late the night before, poring over a report for work that seemed to stretch endlessly. The last few weeks had been a blur of deadlines and stress, and this morning was no exception. I fumbled out of bed, my body feeling heavier than usual, as though the weight of exhaustion was physically anchoring me down. The air in my apartment was still cool and damp from the previous night's rain, a reminder that summer had not yet fully arrived. I shuffled into the kitchen, where the scent of burnt coffee hung in the air, a testament to my haste and distraction. As I prepared a new pot of coffee, my thoughts were already racing ahead to the tasks of the day. My job had been demanding recently, with back-to-back meetings and an ever-growing list of responsibilities. The usual morning routine, a small but cherished ritual of calm and order, was hurried and chaotic. I could barely keep my eyes open, my mind spinning with the pressures of work, the unfinished report, and the looming deadlines. The clock on the wall ticked mercilessly, each second a reminder of the time slipping away. I grabbed a piece of toast and a half-filled mug of coffee, spilling a few drops on my shirt in the process. With a resigned sigh, I took one last look at the mirror, barely recognizing the tired face staring back at me. I made my way to the front door, juggling keys, coffee, and a stack of papers. The rain had stopped, but the sky remained overcast, casting a dull light over everything. As I reached my car, the first sign of trouble appeared. The engine sputtered when I turned the key, a sound that made my heart sink. The car had been unreliable for weeks, but I had hoped it would hold out just a little longer. After several attempts to start the engine, I realized that I was facing yet another frustrating setback. My frustration was palpable, and the inconvenience of it all felt like a heavy weight pressing down on my shoulders. I tried calling a tow truck, my hands trembling as I dialed the number. The dispatcher's voice was calm and efficient, but it did little to soothe my mounting anxiety. As I waited for the tow truck to arrive, I felt a growing sense of dread about the day ahead. With my car towed away, I had to make an unplanned trip to the bus stop. The rain had left puddles everywhere, and I stepped carefully to avoid splashing water onto my clothes. Each step felt like an additional burden, and the early morning chill seemed to seep into my bones. The bus stop was a small shelter, barely providing any relief from the elements. I joined a handful of commuters, each person lost in their own thoughts, the collective mood heavy with the shared experience of a dreary day. I glanced at my watch repeatedly, growing more anxious with each passing minute. The bus, it seemed, had decided to be late, another small, irritating complication in an already frustrating day. I tried to focus on a book I had brought along, but my mind kept wandering. The pressures of work, the unfinished report, and the mounting deadlines consumed my thoughts. Every minute that ticked by felt like an eternity, adding to the growing sense of urgency and anxiety. When the bus finally arrived, it was crowded and stuffy. I found a seat near the back and tried to settle in, but the bus ride felt interminable. The city outside the window was a blur of gray and motion, and I could barely concentrate on anything but the persistent nagging feeling of impending doom. By the time I reached my office, I was drenched from the rain and exhausted from the long journey. My mood had soured considerably, and I felt on edge. The day was just beginning, but it already felt like an uphill battle. I tried to push through, focusing on the tasks at hand and meeting with colleagues, but my frustration and fatigue were hard to ignore. The first few hours at work were a series of minor setbacks. The report I had stayed up late to finish needed revisions, and I struggled to make the necessary changes amid constant interruptions. Meetings were running behind schedule, adding to the mounting pressure. Each new issue seemed to compound the last, creating a snowball effect of stress and frustration. The lunch break was no respite. I grabbed a quick bite from a nearby cafe, but the food did little to lift my spirits. The constant drizzle outside matched my mood perfectly, and I found myself feeling increasingly defeated. I couldn't shake the sense that things were not going to get better. As the afternoon wore on, the day's challenges continued to build. I felt overwhelmed by the sheer volume of tasks and responsibilities, and the sense of helplessness was growing. My mind raced with worries about upcoming deadlines, the report, and the never-ending to-do list. I tried to focus on one task at a time, but it felt like I was constantly being pulled in multiple directions. The afternoon had dragged on, the hours stretching interminably. It was around 3:30 p.m. when I finally decided to take a break and step outside for some fresh air. The sky was still overcast, but the rain had eased to a light drizzle. I walked down the familiar city streets, the rhythmic patter of raindrops creating a soothing, if somewhat melancholic, backdrop. I was heading towards a small park nearby, a place I often visited to clear my head. The park was a modest oasis in the midst of the urban sprawl, with a few benches scattered beneath the shelter of trees. As I approached, I noticed that the park was relatively empty, just a few scattered people braving the weather. I chose a bench near a large oak tree, hoping the overhanging branches would offer some protection from the light drizzle. I sat down, feeling the dampness of the bench seep through my clothes. The city noise was a distant hum, muffled by the canopy of the tree and the soft drizzle. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts and calm my racing mind. It was then that I saw her, an elderly woman, making her way along the path. She was dressed in a simple, worn coat that looked like it had seen many seasons. Her gray hair was pulled back into a tidy bun, and she carried a large, well-used handbag that seemed to have a life of its own. Despite the weather, she walked with a steady, purposeful gait. Her face was marked with lines of age and experience, and her eyes, though slightly clouded, held a gentle warmth. She had an air of quiet resilience about her, and as she approached, I couldn't help but notice the kind expression she wore. It was a face that seemed to radiate calm and compassion, a stark contrast to my own turbulent state of mind. At first, I thought she was simply another passerby, but as she drew closer, I noticed that she wasn't just walking past. She stopped near my bench and seemed to hesitate, as though considering something. There was a moment of stillness, a quiet pause in the midst of the day's chaos. To my surprise, the woman approached me with a warm smile. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice gentle and slightly accented. "I couldn't help but notice that you seem to be having a rough day." I blinked, momentarily taken aback. How could this stranger have noticed my internal struggle from a distance? I tried to muster a polite smile, but I'm sure it came off as more of a weary nod. Without waiting for a response, she reached into her handbag and pulled out an umbrella, a large, floral-patterned one that seemed to promise comfort and protection. "Here," she said, handing it to me. "You look like you could use this." My first instinct was to refuse, feeling a mix of embarrassment and confusion. "Oh, that's very kind of you, but I really couldn't." "Nonsense," she interrupted, her tone firm but kind. "I have another one at home, and it's just a little rain. It will do you good to stay dry, and perhaps it will bring a bit of cheer to your day." She then reached into her other bag and produced a small cup of coffee, still warm and fragrant. "I also got you a coffee. It's nothing special, but sometimes a warm drink can make a world of difference." As she handed me the coffee, I felt a wave of gratitude and disbelief. Here was a stranger, someone I had never met before, offering me such a thoughtful gesture without any expectation of return. The umbrella and coffee were simple items, but in that moment, they felt like the most precious gifts. I was overwhelmed by the kindness of her actions. My initial reaction was one of shock. I stared at the umbrella and coffee, my emotions a tangled mess of gratitude, relief, and a touch of embarrassment. "Thank you," I managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. "This means more to me than you can imagine." The woman's smile widened, and she gave a small nod. "It's my pleasure," she said softly. I found that a small act of kindness can brighten even the darkest of days. "I hope this helps you find a little bit of joy." Her words struck a chord deep within me. I realized that, despite the tumult of the day, this simple act had the power to shift my entire perspective. The warmth of the coffee and the protection of the umbrella felt like a tangible expression of care, a reminder that even in the midst of personal struggles, kindness still exists. As the woman walked away, I watched her retreating figure with a mix of admiration and gratitude. Her presence had been like a brief, glowing beacon of hope in my otherwise dreary day. I took a sip of the coffee, savoring its warmth, and unfolded the umbrella. The comforting scent of the coffee mingled with the fresh, earthy smell of the park, creating a moment of serene solace. The act of kindness had a profound effect on me. My mood began to lift, and I felt a renewed sense of optimism. The park, which had previously seemed dull and dreary, now felt like a haven of peace. I found myself reflecting on the woman's words and the simple but meaningful gesture she had offered. Returning to the office, I felt lighter and more focused. The day's challenges seemed less daunting, and I approached my remaining tasks with a new sense of purpose. Conversations with colleagues were more pleasant, and I found myself sharing the story of the kind stranger with anyone who would listen. As the evening approached and the day drew to a close, I found a quiet moment to reflect on the impact of the woman's kindness. It was not just the physical comfort of the umbrella and coffee that had touched me, but the emotional support and the reminder that even small gestures can have a profound effect. The experience had shifted my outlook, reminding me of the inherent goodness in people. It made me reevaluate my own approach to kindness and how I interact with others. I felt inspired to be more mindful of opportunities to help those around me, to offer support where I could, and to approach each day with a renewed sense of empathy. I realized that the woman's simple act of kindness had not only brightened my day, but had also reinforced the idea that kindness is a powerful force. It can transform a challenging day into a reminder of human connection and compassion. As the day wound down, the shift in my mood was palpable. The initial tension and frustration that had weighed heavily on me seemed to dissipate, replaced by a warm, lingering sense of gratitude. The woman's unexpected kindness had infused my day with a newfound sense of hope and clarity. The simple act of receiving an umbrella and a cup of coffee had become a symbol of relief and encouragement amidst a sea of challenges. Returning to the office, I found myself more engaged in my work. The tasks that had felt overwhelming now seemed more manageable, and my interactions with colleagues were noticeably more positive. I approached my remaining projects with a renewed energy, fueled by the small but significant boost I had received earlier. The coffee, still warm in my hands, seemed to serve as a tangible reminder of the kindness I had experienced. Every sip brought with it a fleeting sense of comfort and reassurance. Even the dreary weather, which had seemed so oppressive earlier, now felt less daunting. The umbrella, though simple, became a symbol of protection and care, a small but meaningful shield against the elements of my day. Throughout the afternoon, I found myself sharing the story of the kind stranger with several colleagues. Each time I recounted the experience, my gratitude was evident. My colleagues listened with interest and empathy, and their reactions ranged from surprise to admiration. One colleague, Sarah, was particularly touched by the story. She shared her own experiences with acts of kindness and expressed how hearing about my experience had brightened her own day. We both agreed that such moments of human connection are rare but invaluable. As the workday came to an end, I received a few text messages and calls from friends inquiring about my day. I took the opportunity to share the story with them as well. Their responses were overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing how heartwarming it was to hear about such a selfless act. The story of the stranger had become a source of inspiration not just for me, but for those I shared it with. In the days and weeks that followed, the impact of the woman's kindness continued to resonate with me. The experience had prompted a period of introspection and self-evaluation. I found myself more attuned to the needs of others and more conscious of the ways in which I could contribute positively to those around me. I began to actively seek out opportunities to perform acts of kindness, no matter how small. Whether it was offering a helping hand to a colleague, lending an ear to a friend in need, or simply sharing a smile with a stranger, I became more intentional about spreading positivity. The kindness I had received also led me to reassess my approach to challenges and stress. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by difficulties, I tried to approach them with a mindset of resilience and gratitude. The memory of the stranger's selfless act served as a reminder that, even in the midst of hardship, there are moments of grace and generosity to be found. One particular story stands out. I recall a day when I was in line at a coffee shop, feeling unusually frazzled. The person in front of me noticed my visible distress and, without any fanfare, paid for my coffee. This small act of kindness, reminiscent of the stranger's gesture, had a profound effect on me. It reinforced the idea that kindness is a powerful force, capable of creating a ripple effect of goodwill. I shared the story with friends and family, and it sparked a series of conversations about the impact of kindness. Many of them began to share their own experiences, creating a chain of uplifting stories that helped foster a sense of community and mutual support. The experience with the stranger had broader implications that extended beyond my personal life. It highlighted the importance of fostering a culture of kindness and empathy in our communities. In a world that often seems dominated by negativity and division, small acts of kindness can serve as powerful antidotes to the prevailing sense of disconnection. I became more aware of how these acts, though seemingly minor, contribute to the overall fabric of society. Each gesture of kindness, whether it's a simple smile or a helping hand, plays a part in building a more compassionate and connected world. The woman's actions were a vivid reminder that kindness is not only a personal virtue, but also a societal necessity. Reflecting on the experience, I learned several valuable lessons. 1. The power of small gestures. Even seemingly insignificant acts of kindness can have a profound impact on someone's day. The umbrella and coffee were simple items, but their effect was far-reaching. 2. The ripple effect. Kindness often inspires others to act similarly. The stranger's gesture not only brightened my day, but also inspired me and those I shared the story with to be more mindful of opportunities to help others. 3. Resilience through kindness. Acts of kindness can serve as a source of strength during challenging times. They remind us of the goodness in humanity and provide comfort and encouragement when we need it most. 4. Gratitude as a practice. Embracing gratitude for small acts of kindness can transform our outlook on life. It helps us recognize and appreciate the positive aspects of our daily experiences, even in the midst of adversity. After the incredible experience of receiving such unexpected kindness, I felt an overwhelming urge to express my gratitude to the stranger who had brightened my day. I wished I could find a way to thank her directly and let her know just how much her simple act meant to me. In my attempts to locate her, I reached out to the local parks administration to see if they might have any information about her. Unfortunately, as she was just a passerby, there was no way to track her down through official channels. Despite the fruitless search, I didn't want my gratitude to go unacknowledged. I decided to write a heartfelt thank you letter as a way to channel my appreciation. Dear kind stranger, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible kindness you showed me on that rainy Tuesday afternoon. Your gesture of giving me an umbrella and a cup of coffee was a beacon of warmth and compassion during a particularly challenging day. In a world that often feels rushed and impersonal, your selfless act reminded me of the profound impact that even small gestures of kindness can have. Your simple, yet thoughtful actions turned my entire day around and provided me with much-needed comfort and hope. I regret that I didn't have the chance to thank you in person, but I want you to know that your kindness has not gone unnoticed. It inspired me to be more aware of the opportunities to help others and to embrace kindness in my daily life. I am deeply grateful for your generosity and the positive difference you made. Thank you once again for your remarkable kindness. It has left a lasting impression on me, and I will carry the memory of your generosity with me always. With heartfelt thanks, even though I couldn't deliver the letter to the stranger personally, I found solace in knowing that her act of kindness had created a ripple effect. In Inspired by her example, I felt compelled to encourage others to engage in acts of kindness, no matter how small. I wanted to spread the message that kindness can truly change lives and foster a sense of connection and community. Hello, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about the incredible kindness I experienced and how it impacted me. I want to take a moment to encourage all of you to carry forward this message of kindness in your own lives. The world can often feel overwhelming, but each of us has the power to make a positive difference through our actions. I challenge you to perform a small act of kindness this week, whether it's helping a stranger, supporting a friend, or simply offering a kind word. You might be surprised at how much of an impact these seemingly small actions can have on someone's day. Kindness is a gift that costs nothing but has the power to create lasting change. When we take the time to be considerate and compassionate, we contribute to a more positive and connected world. I'd love to hear your stories of kindness. Please share your experiences in the comments below. Whether you've received a thoughtful gesture or performed one yourself, your stories can inspire others and spread even more goodwill. Let's build a community of kindness together. Share your experiences, and let's create a ripple effect that touches lives far beyond our own. Reflecting on this journey, it's clear that the experience of receiving unexpected kindness was transformative. It taught me valuable lessons about the power of compassion and the profound effect that small gestures can have on our lives. The woman's act of kindness was not just a momentary boost. It served as a reminder of the inherent goodness in people and the impact of living with empathy. Her actions inspired me to embrace kindness more fully and to recognize the significance of every opportunity to connect with others. Thank you for joining me on this journey and for allowing me to share this story with you. I hope it has inspired you to seek out and celebrate moments of kindness in your own life. Remember, every act of compassion contributes to a better world. If you enjoyed this story and found it meaningful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel for more content. I'm grateful for your support and excited to continue sharing stories and experiences with you. Until next time, stay kind, stay connected, and keep spreading positivity. Thank you for watching.